I want to thank everybody for making time in the first place. But you know what we're here. The whole situation been going down with Melee, Smash, Nintendo stopping Melee from growing. You know, doing all their Nintendo stuff. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that today. What Nintendo's been up to. I'm Rebaz from Pengboys. I also edit for Beastcoast. We got Grant, Hugo, aka Hugs, Lord Knight, MR.R, s2j. I want to know what everybody thinks about the situation, because it's been heavy. I'm not gonna lie, it's been heavy. Nintendo's been doing this for quite some time. So
this thing is specifically about Melee, although it hasn't always been in the past. But yeah, like like if you're a Smasher and you've played for a while, like this is pretty. I wouldn't say common, but Nintendo like doing this, pulling something like this, like it's not that surprising to a lot of us because they've done similar stuff in the past. Wouldn't you say, Hugo?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. Nintendo's been shitty towards the Smash scene since 2004, since there was a point where they even needed to care about us. And I think every single game has been affected since. To different degrees, right? I think the newer Smash games get a little less of it because, you know, when the new game comes out, Nintendo is actually kind of supportive because it's in their interest to make some money. But they're still kind of, but they're not. They're just dipping their toes, right? They're showing a little bit of support. They're not actually helping out the new games. They're actually hurting them too because like there were points where they stopped Brawl from getting streamed on MLG, I believe. And then there were circuits that involved Smash 4 that were stopped by Nintendo as well, according to that document, right?
I mean, hold on. Let me just say something about that. I've heard from like people that worked with Nintendo directly with Nintendo that the circuit was coming, and this was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So that tweet longer from the anonymous guy, it's pretty credible, honestly. A lot of the stuff is stuff I've heard before. So it's not like he's just spouting nonsense, you know? Especially the circuit thing. Like, I've heard about that for a while, and it never happened.
Yeah, no, that whole document, I don't know if you guys have all read it, but...
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I read it today, the whole thing.
Yeah. So all of it is credible in my mind. All of those things I've known about, and I've heard, like, people high up in different companies talk about those exact things. So
yeah, same here.
So this wasn't just a random person just spewing conspiracy theories, right? A lot of people that are up there in Smash are confirming that a lot of those stories are accurate. And yeah, some of those stories did include Nintendo screwing over circuits that would have helped out Smash 4. And then some things even as far back as like 2006, where imagine like Smash was on TV in 2006 when nobody was really doing that, right? Like what kind of esports would Smash be now if they were allowed to thrive when they were hot in 2006 instead of needing the revival in 2013 with the documentary and Evo that they also tried to shut down at that point. So they're just
I remember
constantly there fucking things up.
That would be really crazy. Like, especially like that's when I played Melee, right? So I had the privilege of playing Melee in 05, 07. And then I was in the FGC at that same Evo for like the 2013 when Melee was back. And I specifically remember thinking when Melee came back and when the documentary happened, like, what happened if Melee just didn't die for like 6 or 7 years, you know, like between like the scene itself, like where would I be? Where would you be, Hugo, for example? Like the timeline probably would be so different.
Yeah, everything would be different. You'd probably still be playing with us at tournaments and shit.
Probably.
Yeah. Who knows?
So, when was it the first time that like it really affected you as a player? Like when was the very first time you noticed like, oh shit, if things would go different, how it would look like right now? Like how long ago was the very first time that it actually affected your personal life or like, well, with your finances and wanting to play Smash? Because we all know that, you know, trying to grow financially in Smash is very, very hard, especially when, you know, tournament earnings aren't that all that, you know? So like, how do you and Johnny stand in that situation?
I guess since like Evo 2013, like obviously that was like the first time that happened, right? Like Nintendo directly stepping in. But it's been bad because you know, people always talk about the circuit happening and like it's kind of like a bait into committing yourself to like full-time Melee because people say like the circus coming, this and that. It's always like a promise that never ended up coming to fruition. It's not anyone's fault besides probably Nintendo's, right? It's because everyone's trying their hardest. People at Twitch, like MLG, Red Bull, and so forth, they're all trying. But there's like, if you read the tweet longer, there's like a bad discourse going on where Nintendo seems to like feign interest and then just like bait people for years, and then nothing comes out of it. Even like Ninja on Twitter like try to like make something happen, right? But
yeah, I was gonna say like Nintendo feigning interest. That's been reoccurring before as well. Because I remember going to E3 for Smash Ultimate, like when Smash Ultimate came out, and that was like the first tournament. Nintendo invited like a bunch of players, and they were like, "All right, so if you guys have any feedback of the game, like we'd love to hear it, and we'll make changes accordingly, because we'll listen to you guys." So everybody was really happy when we heard that, and we actually gave them like a list of changes. One of the changes was because there's directional air dodging in Ultimate, and we asked to make it more like melee, so laggier, less laggy on landing, and they all seemed to like agree at the time. Because I always wondered like, what's the point of adding directional air dodging from melee if you're not going to add like wave bouncing wave landing and wave dashing? Like nobody likes directional air dodging because of directional air dodging. They like it because you can wave dash and wave land. So I was like, if you guys add that, people would probably be like the melee community would probably be more interested in playing the game as well, and more people would probably like it that way. And they were very like, I guess, accepting towards any feedback we gave them. But then when the game came out, like none of the feedback we gave them was like in the game. Like it's like they pretended to like be interested and listen to us, but then nothing actually changed. So I just wanted to share that because a lot of people don't know that. Like only the people that got invited to like the E3 and Nintendo Invitational know about that. But yeah.
They're never going to invite you ever again, just so you know. After these guys, just letting you know,
Probably
right?
not, no.
Oh man.
It's really easy for them to, listen and say, hey, thanks for the feedback, we'll take it into consideration, and then do nothing. It's easier for them to do that than to just say like, no, we don't want your feedback, right? Because then you feel heard, you feel listened to, you feel incentivized. Like you start telling your fans like, okay, guys, like this is straight up influencer marketing. Like we talked to Nintendo, they listen to our feedback. Like we think Ultimate's going to be amazing. Now all your fans are bought in and they're really excited to buy the game. 5 seconds later, Smash Ultimate is the highest selling fighting game of all time, 21 million sales. Nintendo's happy they won. And we're just sitting here holding the bag like, all right, well, the Wi-Fi still sucks. All the shit we wanted is not in the game. They're not supporting any tournaments. Like, cool, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it's sad that the community can build a better version of online. I'm not even talking about Melee, but like the Ultimate community has like their own emulator now. I think it's called Yuzu or Parsec. And it's like, it's better than like Ultimate online. Like, how is that even possible? Like, why can the community make a better version of online than the company that has like a way bigger budget?
I actually did not know.
So
So you're talking about the whole like for Ultimate right now.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about like Melee. I'm talking about
nuts.
Ultimate. Like, even Ultimate's come out with like an emulator, like an online type of thing, and it's better than like regular Ultimate online.
I want to go to a little thing we were talking about before, because like Hugo, you've been around very long. I'm not trying to bust your balls, but
no, you're good.
So I remember they were also kicking off Melee from MLG, right? Wasn't this like 2008 or 2007? Like, wasn't that the same kind of scenario?
It was like 07, 08.
Yeah. In 07, basically, Nintendo wasn't allowing them to continue. So we had our big year, like that was called the golden era of Melee, where in 2006, like we were, like MLG would try other games like Gran Turismo and things like that, and they would all just tank. Like, there'd be 3 entrants, and no one would give a shit. And then, but when they brought Smash in 2004, it was clearly another game that people were excited to see. Like Halo was first, and then Smash. And 2006 went great for us, and it seemed to be getting even bigger every time. And then 2007 hit, and then all of a sudden we weren't on the lineup. And it turns out that Nintendo was just too difficult to work with, and MLG couldn't, reliably keep us on the circuit. So what MLG did is they did a workaround where they just did like a grassroots thing with MLG, and basically they just kind of gave money to grassroots events, like put some MLG branding on it to still stick around. and that happened for that year, but you know, it wasn't the same. It wasn't actually MLG. It was just kind of them supporting the grassroots movement, which was cool of them. But again, just another example how Nintendo would just keep. It's like they don't even step in when it hurts them. They step in when we're thriving. You know what I mean? Like they step in when 2006 went well. All right, fuck that, and then they come in and they ruin it. And then oh shit, they just raised.
Oh, he cut off.
He got cut off.
Screenshot time. I got
Best
screenshot.
moment.
I always do this.
Yeah. They MLG was participating in the grassroots scene just because Nintendo wasn't really making it easy for them to keep us on the league. So they just started funding or like putting some money into pots and like putting their branding on some of our grassroots events. It wasn't quite the same thing, but yeah. And then I went on a rant about how Nintendo just kind of steps in when we're succeeding, right? Like they wait till MLG 06 was such a big hit, so then they're like, all right, fuck that, you can't be on there. Or they wait till we raise money for Evo and we're about to show up there, and then they're like, you can't stream it. And then now we created our own online version. They're like, no, fuck that. You can't. They found a way to play during a pandemic. Can't allow that. And then they just fucking
like when Melee is like succeeding, and nobody's out buying new copies of Melee because the game came out 19 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it just becomes a situation for Nintendo where like, all right, what's the upside? Like, are Melee people going out and buying Ultimate? Like, are Melee people going out and buying Switches? Like, probably not. So like, if we sit back and let this happen, someone else is going to make money and we're not. And then, IP, like you're like damaging our intellectual property or whatever. But like the reality is if Nintendo was smart, like, I don't want to say Nintendo is not smart. They know how to make money. But if Nintendo wanted to do right by the community, they'd hire the entire Slippi team. They'd make, Melee HD. They'd like have good online with like the Slippi team or whatever. And they would actually like put money into their events and like people would be like happy. But like, that's just too much work for them, I think. Like they don't have a real esports division of their business that is like meaningful to like the actual industry. Like they do like Splatoon stuff and like a little bit of Ultimate stuff. But like in the context of like, Riot Games or like, Epic Games or like any other developer, it just completely pales in comparison. But like the sales are there. Like they have everything they need to make a legitimate circuit if they wanted to. But the real issue is like clearly they don't want to. And like where does that leave us? Just like in a difficult spot.
Yeah, and I feel like people don't even know why they don't want to. Because I think in terms of publicity and financially, it would benefit them a lot actually to be supportive of the scene. So I feel like the only reason they don't want to like do it is because they want to uphold like the family friendly like casual brand Nintendo has, and they don't want to get into like anything competitive. But if they supported us, it would actually benefit them in a lot of ways as well.
But if that's the case, right? If that's the case, what you're saying right now, why would they put patches in Ultimate? Like that's like one of the things that make no sense when I think about it.
It's because I don't know if you read the tweet longer, but the tweet longer said like Nintendo supports us, but like not fully. They'll like support us just barely, so that we kind of think better of them than they actually are. If that makes sense.
I mean, it actually makes sense too, by the way, because sorry to interrupt you, but like as long as they're releasing DLC characters, they probably have to like do stuff to the game. So like they don't mind like balancing the game while they're coming out with new characters. But whenever it's over, like whenever Ultimate's over, like season 3 or whatever, like then they'll have no incentive to patch the game anymore.
Yeah,
right?
they want people to like every time a new DLC character comes out, like Minecraft Steve comes out, and like a lot of us were like, I don't give a shit about Minecraft Steve. Like this dude looks weird as fuck. But like maybe the character that I like got buffed in the patch, so I'm gonna check the patch notes. Maybe I'll like download the game again, see some matchups or whatever, play it a little bit. Spend whatever it costs to buy Minecraft Steve to like get him. Nintendo just made more money, so like that's a win for them. And like the amount of effort it takes to like make those patches, I don't think is that hard. Maybe I could be completely wrong, but
no,
like,
that's a good point though. Like changing up the way the game is definitely motivates more people to play it and pick it up again.
I always thought the thing with Melee and Smash in general that always kind of bothered me as I play like more like Arc Sys Wars games is like, I'm sure you guys know this, I play Dragon Ball. They're obviously going on that path where they're going to use strong anime IPs as fighting games for the future. So it's like the thing that always bothered me about Nintendo kind of doing this is like Smash is one of the strongest IPs because they get to take advantage of all their franchises. And especially like Melee specifically, because now that we're in Ultimate, for instance, like they're I'm not gonna say they're adding random franchises, but like they kind of just adding whatever.
That's pretty much all right, dude.
There's no other way to put it. But like Melee basically has like the core characters from all the core franchises, including opportunities to straight up revive like Star Fox, for instance, which has been dead for God knows how long, or like F-Zero, which has been dead for God knows how long. Metroid hasn't gotten a new game for a long time. These characters are always in Smash, but in Ultimate, there's like Joker from Persona's in Ultimate. Is it like I always feel like a Melee reboot of some sort would be such a good launch point to refresh a couple of the franchises that have just been kind of quiet, but they have to put these characters in Smash just because they've been in Smash for a really long time. But you can't say Nintendo's dropping the ball too, because like they do make mad money, so it's like I don't know.
They can make more money.
Always bothered me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man.
Like if they came out with like Melee HD and they added like new, but with the Melee twist. Like that would be huge. People would love it. People would buy it.
Wait. So that's a really good thing that you just said, because I want Johnny's opinion and actually Hugs' opinion. You guys would not play Melee HD. I don't think I would play Melee HD.
Wait, why would you not play Melee HD?
Because
if a new version of Melee comes out, it's exactly the same as the older version. Exactly the same, except it's HD. And there's newer characters.
See, that's what you want to believe. That's what
why
I
would you
think
not
that you want to believe.
Well, okay.
In reality, what it's going to be probably is that it's going to have so many changes that we probably wouldn't want to play it. And that's definitely
fair enough. Yeah,
that's I would want to. That's how I would see it. That's why I'm like, so let's say they change a couple things, right? They buff Samus, okay? They give Falcon a better up B. Would you still play it? I don't think guys would still play it, right? Would you guys?
That's true. Actually, I feel like the Melee community would be more hesitant.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I mean,
it's those things are kind of rough when they do. There are examples in FGC of them making games like updates to games, and then people are like, "No, we're not gonna play this shit." Basically,
there's like a way of doing it that people would probably enjoy, where you have like a vanilla version, which is just Melee, but with like a fresh coat of paint, and then you have like the new shit behind like a different game mode or whatever. Like that's a possibility, but like obviously Nintendo's not going to think that hard. But one thing that I think is important that Nintendo forgets is that Melee is responsible for Fire Emblem being popular in the West. Like, it's like I didn't know about Marth and Roy and Fire Emblem until I played Melee, and like that opened like a door for me to like play all these games that are awesome. And like, there's no way that like Three Houses and like Awakening and like do numbers if like Melee never came out. And so like that's important, right? Like Smash is so big that it's become a platform for other games and other franchises to succeed just because of like the association. Like people that I've talked to have never played Pikmin, never played, what's a good example? Like some obscure
Persona,
Smash character now, like
existed,
Castlevania, like young people who like, what the fuck's Simon Richter? Who are these dudes? Then they go download like from the eShop, like, Rondo of Blood or something. And they're like, oh, this game's pretty cool. Like Nintendo can make more money off of Smash through other games, like you guys said, than just Smash itself. And so like by just supporting it and like having more tournaments, it means more people are playing the game, more people are getting interested in these characters, more people are downloading new games, and it's just like a huge win for Nintendo. So like, for all of us, and I think the entire community, just is like a giant question mark where like everything, all the pieces are in place. This makes so much sense. Like all you need to do is pull a trigger here and we'll all be happy. And then like you consistently don't. Like how can you unpack that?
The thing is, like you guys mentioned how, it is dumbfounding how they don't find a way to profit off of it, because they could make a lot of money off of any of the Smash scenes by doing things differently and embracing the esports side probably. But we've essentially already kind of given up on that idea. And now we just want them to leave us the fuck alone, right? And they can't even do that, right? When other companies like Twitch and Red Bull want to work with us and they're literally putting down all the money to help us out, then just go the fuck away, Nintendo, and then we'll be fine. We'll actually still thrive that way. But they can't even do that. It's like they're constantly shutting us down even when other people are trying to help us. They're not trying to help us themselves. And then on top of all that, they still use all our influencer marketing to do whatever the fuck they want and sell their games, which is the dirty part.
Isn't it like that Nintendo also like puts down any of the other sponsors if they want to provide it? Like if they want to provide a budget, isn't Nintendo like in the way for that as well? Like that's what they're doing, right? like with Red Bull?
What do you
I'm
mean
not
by
sure.
that?
Like, because I'm not sure I read that wrong or right on the tweet. It was something about like other people want to sponsor the scene, and then Nintendo's butting in, like, hey, you can't be doing that.
It's not so much Nintendo butting in; it's that those companies know that they can't operate without Nintendo's permission.
That's it. Permission.
So like they want to do like a big circuit for Smash, or they want to throw a big event on TV for Smash, because they like the scene, they think the fan engagement's great, they know it's a hype esport. So then, but they as a big company, they can't operate unless Nintendo says it's okay, and they know that. And usually, other companies either they just say, "Yeah, that's fine," or they're like, "Yeah, that's fine, but let us have a stake in this," and then they work it out, right? Nintendo's the one that's always just like either ghosting companies, or they're like, "Yeah, we could do this," and then they just decide to back out, or they just straight up say no.
I want to go back to s2j. So, Johnny, if there's a Melee HD with slight adjustments, would you play it? Would you like, because you definitely just stick to like the Melee the way it is right now, right?
Oh, I do. I think you have a lot of good points. Obviously, if Nintendo can pull off like a 1-to-1 conversion, emulating like a old game, usually when they do that, it's fucked up in a lot of ways. So it's kind of a moot question because I don't even think it'd even happen. But where the game wouldn't be fucked up, like the game is just like more broken in bad ways. Like they fuck up like this and that.
Probably fuck up more.
But if they do make a new game with HD or like new good stuff, like more stages, more characters, like I think that'd be pretty dope, right? I'd be more of an elitist in terms of what you're saying, like character balance and all that, but it just won't happen. It's an impossible scenario.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I always think like it's
Yeah,
never gonna happen.
never
I
gonna
don't think about it, but the idea is just wanting to understand if people would even buy it, because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't buy it because
I'm pretty sure people would buy it.
You'd buy it if it was like just a direct port.
yeah, that's
Like,
People
would.
people would buy it. People would buy it.
Yeah,
Uh,
but they're just not going to do
But
that.
I'm looking
People
at the
would buy it with
competitive
the hope
scene,
that
no way
it's
they're gonna
good.
do that.
I'm talking about the competitive scene. Like, what would they want to do? What would they? think?
The
Because-
competitive scene will accept it as long as it's good, or at least close enough. Like if they
Exactly.
decide that wave dashing is a glitch and they get rid of it, of course not. We're not going
Yeah,
to fuck with
okay,
that,
okay.
right? But if they do some balance changes, then it depends on what the changes are, right? If they add some stages, we're probably okay with that. They make Ness a decent character, we're probably okay with that, as long as Ness isn't broken, right? But things like that we're okay with. But you're saying no because you know the reality of the situation. It's that Nintendo's going to fuck it up. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of Smash players buy every new generation of Smash because they hope it's like their dream of what Smash could be, right? Like people who grew up with Melee and love Melee, like they bought Brawl, like I hope Brawl's better than Melee. No. You bought Smash 4, hopefully.
I see you
Trust
laughing.
me,
Hugo.
biggest mistake of my life, man. Trust me. This,
And then like people bought Ultimate because like there's a piece of you in your heart that's like holy shit, like Toon Link, Pichu, like it's like they know Melee exists. They brought back all the characters from Melee who've been gone for so long. Maybe it'll be good. And then like people still love Ultimate. Like not just like knock on people who play Ultimate and enjoy it. Like it's a game that's fun. But like for the people who like want Melee and are like looking for Melee and it's not what they're looking for, like I can understand the frustration they feel.
well,
Where it's like we're like being baited every single time. Like
yeah, I would say that after Brawl, I think the Melee community just kind of accepted that they're not going to make another Melee. So like the Melee scene is actually totally cool with just going right back to Melee. And I actually think Ultimate's a great game. Actually, if Ultimate was the exact follow-up after Melee, I might have just stuck to the new game. But unfortunately, it was Brawl, and I think Brawl is a trash game. But after that happened, I think most of the Melee scene is not looking to the new game, and then feeling like, oh, I wish it was Melee. Most of us are just like, no, I still got Melee, so I don't care. That happens a lot. So
Yeah, and especially after like Brawl came out, I feel like Melee players don't have any expectations anymore from like a Melee 2.0, like zero. So
I
there's
did a
also-
little bit. For
really?
Smash 4.
Okay.
Well, because they had an invitational and they invited a bunch of Melee people. And
Yeah.
then we're like, oh, shit. Because that was new to us back then. Again, it was them dipping their toes, right? After screwing us over at EVO and at an MLG. Now they're inviting us to an E3. sensational event, right? And then they're like, check this game out. We think you're gonna like it. And we started playing it. And I remember like looking over at Mango and some of the other people. Or no, Mango wasn't there. I forget who was there. Like PPU and them, and I was like, yo, this is the same shit. Like they got us again, man. And then at that point, it's just like no more hope ever again. It was just cool. Make your game. People are gonna love it, fine. But we're probably just gonna keep playing Melee.
Well, I'd say competitive online, it's probably the best it's ever been, without question. It's not perfect, but for online, it's pretty damn close to like the best choice we got, right? So I think Slippi as a whole, even if it's like cross country or whatever, like it's still amazing, right? Like it's by far the best we got, and we definitely thrive off of like big tournaments and all that. I think it's the best form of online we ever had, and it's totally viable for all that,
Except when you play IBDW, right?
Yeah, the live god. No, I think the online play is like Johnny was saying, it's totally viable for tournament play, and it's executed so well that we could actually watch those tournaments and consider them very legitimate. Like I watch an online tournament and I don't think, oh, but it's online, I don't know if it counts. I watch these, I think they're legitimate. There is a difference, right? But I think it's negligible enough to the point where you can take these events very seriously. And it's the best we got right now because of the pandemic. So I think once that came in, it definitely started making the future look bright for Melee again.
I think that I have to agree with that. I think the tournaments are actually very close to like any like you say it's slightly different because you're not on the big stage. I've been talking with Mr. R about this a lot. It's not the same as sitting on the big stage, but it's definitely super close to like a top 8, what we normally see at like the Big House last year, for example, or the year before that. Something like that. It's actually very comparable, and you can see all the high-level play, peeking out and all that kind of stuff. So it's super comparable, and I definitely think is one of the best things that's actually ever seen in a competitive play, in my opinion, for a top.
It might change future tournaments too, even after the pandemic's over, because you could have things like online qualifiers get flown out to this tournament. You could have different ways to involve regions that would not be able to readily go to a Big House in Detroit or a Genesis in California. So it's just even in the future, it's going to become a tool that we'll probably use to grow the scene even further, even if it's not our main source of competition.
Yeah. One thing too that I think will be useful for top players and for players in general is that like if you have a specific character matchup problem, you don't have to go find like a Puff player at like a major when you get there to like play against Puff 100 times. Like you can play against a really good Puff online repeatedly and like before the event, and then like be like feeling really warm up and really good going into the event, much more so than you would historically when like you get to an event and then you have to like go find someone to play against and like block out a bunch of time preparing, getting ready. I think that it's just super useful for like the future of the scene and for the just the even for the ability for like top Smash players and influencers to participate and enjoy the game while they're just streaming, not even in a tournament setting. Like you guys can play Slippi online on your streams against people can watch Melee without having to be in the same room. Like it's just so good for like the overall health of the scene.
Sorry, because I want to stick on the Slippi part because like I really have an important question for Lord Knight and kind of for you at the same time. So keep that thought. Let me ask you this: how hard does it affect you two, like Mr. R and Lord Knight, that you guys don't have rollback? Like, because we're kind of spoiled.
Oh, dude,
we're very
I'm
spoiled.
so jealous of like Melee players right now because Ultimate has 1 million characters, and like I genuinely can get experience against certain characters because even online, it's good. It's good practice, but it's mostly kind of trash. It'd be like way better if I could just play somebody offline or like have Melee level net play. So I'm super jealous, and especially for Ultimate because it has like so many characters. It would be very helpful if we had like good online.
So which games do you play, LK? Like which games do you play that you really want to have rollback and it's really affecting like your thing? Because I know that you were talking about it recently or like last time we were in a call. So I wonder what like your point, your perspective is on that. Like how hard is holding you back as a player as well,
So right now I'm in a pretty interesting situation, right? So it's Dragon Ball, Grand Blue, which I don't play anymore because the netcode sucks. And because I was invited to the Dragon Ball Nationals, I stopped playing Grand Blue and I didn't compete in the Arc Revo, the US Arc Revo. That's the Grand Blue National, which is being ran online. The character I play in Grand Blue is much more difficult to play in delay. You need to be able to react to single hits to hit confirm. I can't do it online. Dragon Ball is being played on PC. It's also delay netcode. It's 2 frames less delay on PC because there's no console native delay. So the actual delay is fine. The issue is the PC port is trash because Japanese developers do not care about Steam version. The Japanese nationals are not being played on Steam at all because there is no Steam version of Dragon Ball in Japan. Now, the other game I'm playing for fun right now is Guilty Gear Accent Core, which has rollback now. There's a rollback beta that they are extending indefinitely until first it was supposed to be 2 days, now it's 1 week, then it was 2 weeks, now it's indefinite until the rollback comes out. It's not perfect, but for a game, Guilty Gear Accent Core might be the only game that is harder than Melee to execute in, probably. For bad reasons, by the way. Not for good reasons, for terrible reasons. But because of that, it literally would be unplayable online. And the game was literally like dead on Steam until they added the rollback. Now, because of the rollback, you can actually play the game online. And now I can play Guilty Gear Ranked, which I have never been able to do. And I played Exert for 5 years. I never played Ranked online in Exert. And the reason why the Slippi thing gets me so fucking angry is that the Guilty Gear rollback was also fan-made, but they got like halfway done, and ArcSys was like, come work for us and just do it for us because we don't want to do it because we're working on our rollback for the new game that's coming out next year. So just keep on working on it, and we'll just, we'll use this to like boost sales or something and get more people to play. And lo and behold, people are playing the game. They extended the beta indefinitely. So like I could just like after this, I'm probably going to play for like an hour or two. And I'm not even playing that game in tournaments. That's another thing I want to say. I'm not playing it in tournament. I'm just playing it for fun because it's actually playable. And I can play people like coast to coast. So the Slippi thing gets me really mad because it's such an easy. This is like a layup. Like everyone says, Ultimate Wi-Fi is trap. It's why when Mr. R says someone play me on Wi-Fi, I'm like, wow. Like,
it even hurts me. You got to think about it. We're sitting in a call with him. We're sitting in a call with this guy, and we're playing Valorant, and this guy goes like, "Hi guys, I'm gonna quit and play Ultimate Wi-Fi." And we're just like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, man?"
That sounds so painful. So like the amount, like it's like you don't. So like in the traditional FGC, like 2D and 3D FGC, there have been discussions on why companies don't add rollback, and sometimes they have some bullshit like, oh, it's too hard, or like resources, or like it's really hard because of the anime, stuff. Like the game has to be made of rollback and blah 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 blah. And I get that's true, but like in the case of Melee specifically, like the work is done. The work is done for you. So like the steps, like being able to run any type of event in our current situation is huge as far as just like free advertising, basically. And you don't have to make the netcode. And for future Smash games, you have a base, some type of base that exists for netcode in the future. So the fact that they just kind of want to shut all that shit down kind of drives me nuts, especially when you see what's happening in FGC recently between Guilty Gear. Tekken has better rollback now. The Riot game is looming in the background with the Evo founders made GGPO, which is rollback, so it's going to be in that game. So that they're sitting in the shadows like, "Ooh, Nintendo, fuck up again, please mess up again, so we can add our game, our League of Legends fighter, which will have rollback day one." Like, it's pretty rage-inducing to think about. To be honest, I haven't even tried the Melee rollback, by the way. I just assume it's good because everyone else says it's good. I was pretty happy.
It's really good.
It's great.
I was pretty happy to hear like Melee got it, because before, like, just speaking from past experience too, like I kind of live in the woods, so it's like you have to, like, I have to go to M2Ks to play, or I have to go to Inuis to play, or whatever. Or I have to go somewhere to play the game. I can't play by myself. I can't play at home. When you add the ability to play at home and be able to grind and learn with new people, compete online, even like the legitimacy of it aside of how legit the tournaments are, it adds a lot, not only to the scene, but also to like future prospects with new games, So it just gets me super angry when I think about it.
Yeah.
I know a lot.
I mean, all it takes is someone with a buttload of money to like go and like hire the entire Slippi team and like make their own game, right?
It's like
I
one
mean,
dude, right? Like it's not even like a team, right? It's not like
It's
one
like one
dude.
guy. It's like
Yeah,
it's one,
that's what I'm
It's
saying.
one
it's
guy.
one guy.
I'm pretty sure it's
Crazy.
one person who made it.
It's,
Wow.
I think he's
I
got
did
some
not
help,
know
but
that.
I don't really know specifically.
Yeah.
Each time Melee faces something like this, it actually sparks and ignites the community to come together. And I feel like it benefits from stuff like this. Even though it sucks, Nintendo doesn't help us and Nintendo's standing in our way. I feel like in the long run, the community benefits from this because everybody's like standing together now and we're getting more spotlight. And that's partially why I think Melee's never gonna die, but also because it has the most dedicated community out of any gaming community I've ever been to or seen. There's nothing really quite like it. And yeah, I'd be genuinely surprised if it died at some point. I don't see it happening as of right
Do you
now.
think Nintendo is planning all this out?
No.
No way.
Dude, Nintendo, like, honestly, I think the people at Nintendo who are the ones who, like, say you can't do this are just, like, the legal team whose job is to just, like, go out there and, like, shut shit down. Like, when a new Pokemon game comes out and, like, all of the new shit gets leaked before the game actually drops, and, like, all of these websites that are leaking the new shit get, like, you know, cease and desisted by all the lawyers. Like, I don't think Nintendo, like, the actual people who make the games and think about that stuff, like, if you even have any part of that, it's just, like, the legal team.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think there's anything we can do other than to continue to unite and, you know, kind of work on this cause, right? Like if we, for example, like someone like Ludwig is still hosting a tournament and like raising a bunch of money for charity. So if Nintendo wants to shut that down, then he's just going to do it again next month and then next month and then next month. And there's been talks in the scene about like how we're going to deal with this. But basically the idea is, well, if Nintendo just wants to keep screwing us over, then we're going to put our greatest strength, which is our voice. We're going to put those all the voices together, and then we're just going to be as loud as possible to let people know that Nintendo is actually shitty. And hopefully that hits their pocketbooks. Hopefully that hits their reputation. Hopefully it does something to the point where someone at Nintendo says, all right, you know what? This is kind of not worth it. Why don't you just leave Melee the fuck alone? Or just leave Smash alone, let them do their thing? Or hell, why don't we just make some money and actually help them out? So like the future really is still confusing, but it's not bleak. Like Ramen has said a few times, like we're not going to die. Melee's not going to die. Smash is not going to die. There's way too many people who love the game. So it's just going to come down to you know, continuing to be loud and continuing to be united until Nintendo either caves or hell, we'll just keep fighting and playing the game for a couple of years to come, and that'll be fine too.